Hey all, this one's going to be more for the laid back or more casual players since all those min-maxers already know their answer, but I wanted to talk about 6 stars versus 7 stars today and whether or not you need to stress about it. It's going to be more of a thought or opinion video that's made to help you make the decision on whether you need to worry about it or not. Before we get into that, my name's Ann and I make NGS content on YouTube and stream mostly NGS on Twitch every Friday night. Some of you might be sitting here getting ready to type in the comments, of course you need 7-star gear, why would you think otherwise? And for some content you're right. If you're going to be doing the hardest purple trigger, which is Kavaris as of this video, or something like Dark Falls Rank 2, you should bring in the best gear, but only sort of. KOEG did a video where everyone except one had pretty standard gear and cleared Dark Falls. At the same time, when you're doing something like level 1 ruins farming, the satchel weapons have a better damage due to power caps, and that's where that fine line comes into play. For instance, this image was shared in my Alliance Discord and shows the power scaling when running the 10th anniversary limited time quest at rank 1 versus rank 4. Am I going to sit here and say to go out with bad gear and let others carry you? No, far from it. This is more of a question of what's your playstyle and what do you want to do? I've been helping a friend of mine work out her gearing, and she's going to be running one of the orbit weapons along with 3 Sasato units, because that's what works for her. She's only able to play once or twice a week, so she doesn't have the time to farm for Blizzarum or the minerals for Rezo's exchange. At the same time, she also doesn't run purple triggers often, only UQs. Because of these factors, I recommended she wait until the 10th anniversary event, and I put together a list of reasonably priced augments that she can still keep up on damage, but not completely spend all of her meseta. In fact, we're watching her first attempts at Dark Falls Rank 2 currently, and she's keeping up with the people who have cracked out weapons and units. So, how does one make a decent set of gear that won't cost an arm and a leg, but still allows you to pull your weight? If you're watching this during the 10th anniversary event, Sega made it easy. Pick up an evil orbit weapon. If you're watching this after the event, there might still be some cheap ones on the market, otherwise either a Rox or Satchel will work. If you got an evil orbit from the event shop, it comes already buffed to plus 40, with a decent set of augments on it. To be honest, breaking it and enhancing it to plus 50 and throwing a Giga stat capsule on is all you really need. If you want to push a little more out of it, replacing Triple Bull with a stat 3 capsule is a good budget replacement since you don't need all 3 stats on a weapon that only uses 1. For those who aren't working with a pre-augmented Evil Orbit, I've linked Millie's guide in the description as I think their budget build of Amzicrox's Soul 3, Gigastat, Stat 3, a Duelable, and a Note is fine as well. Before I go on though, I do want to touch on that stat and Gigastat. When you hear this, it means whatever stat your class needs for damage. If you're playing a Hunter, Fighter, Soaring Blades on Bouncer, or Katana on Braver, you're going to want Might. Gunner, Ranger, or Bow Braver needs Precision, and Force, Techer, or Jet Boots on Bouncer need Technique. Units are a little harder to recommend because Sega does a great job making sure there's not a true best in slot, just what's best for your style. Currently, we have the Tanky Defraza, the Glass Cannon-y Defrausis, the Balanced Sasato and its variants, and the even more Glass Cannon Belgren units. I only mentioned the last one because they should be thrown out in my opinion. Kavaris leaned hard on the status effects, with Freeze and Confusion being the most prevalent, so you need to have uncanny dodging skills if you're going to use these. Going back to the recommendations, you choose what you're most comfortable with, but I do recommend using one of the Sasato variants. When you get the item out of the crate, it comes with Decode Stat, which is useful for both power, since it gives plus 2.5% potency, but also 25% low temp damage and resistance, which is great for if or when you decide to farm Railroad Gorge. As a Force or Jet Boots bouncer, I went with 2 Sasato and 1 Sasato Sheza, as I thought it was going to be the best balance for survivability and power, but I was running with Vitaloon armor during Retem, which is the tanky one, so it falls back on personal preference. As for augments, I'd recommend something like Stat 3, Gigastat 2 or 3, a soul like Croxus or Am's Soul 3, and the rest get a little harder. For the last of these, I'm going to lean on Millie's recommendations of a Duelable and either Belgian, Lostral, or Rizola notes. There's also the problem of Frostal Soul 3 costing between 160 and 180k on Ship 3, which is a huge deal for melee players. The problem is we don't have a steady source for Frostal like we do Croxus or Am-Souls. The last 2 we get 3 of after every UQ, whereas the first can only drop from the Frostal Sword in West Kavaris or the Ancient in the Gorge. To replace that, going with either Daedal Soul 3 for Photon Power or Dust Soul 3 for the HP would be the next best options. There are other options if you're looking for something more, but this is a good budget or starting point for those who are looking to get built up. With that, you should have the information you need to be able to hold your own when you decide to head into the wilds of triggers, UQs, and Gigas hunting. Is there anything I missed? Feel free to comment down below. If this was useful, clicking that like button would be appreciated, and if you want to see more content as it comes out, hitting the subscribe button is also appreciated. Thanks again for watching, and have a good one.